you're a sailor, you've probably dealt with dinghy motors. Here we have a 9.8 Nissan. It's a two-stroke, and there's one thing that usually plagues these motors, and it is a dirty carburetor or bad gaskets in the carburetor. So let's take a tour of this thing, pull the carb off, put a carb kit on it, put it back on, and start it. Before we go here, we got to give a shout out to William. He sent me this Epoch Battery. It is so cool. I have multiple dead lead acid batteries. I actually have 4 of them. You can see them in these clips right here. 4 dead. Here's 2 of my dead lead acid batteries. They're not even that old, but they sit in the winter, don't get maintained, and then they're done. And that's that. We need some lithium-ion batteries in here. Here's 2 more dead batteries from sailboats that sat all winter. That one's from Hershaw 54 steel schooner. And this one came with a boat that I just got. Both dead. Lead acids. This one can't keep a charge for like a day. 4 dead lead acid batteries. Every winter, it seems like I need a new battery. This Epoch battery has an 11-year warranty. And I know the state of the whole battery. Here, check this out. It's got a cool app. You go in, and I connect to the battery. It's here. And then I have a dashboard telling me the state of the battery. You can see each cell in the battery and any differences between the cells and the temperature. I can turn charging off. I can turn discharging off and on. It's very cool. There, discharge on. Now check this out. I created this super rudimentary setup of this sailboat that I'm redoing, right? I know it's not set up correctly. I got you. But this is a rudimentary setup of all the loads that'll be in the sailboat. Here's the other parts of the sailboat. See this? But I was missing one part. And that is an awesome lithium-ion battery that William over at Epoch sent me. So I'm just going to hook it up real quick. Don't try this at home, kids. Cool, I turned the discharge on, so we should be good. Now we can start flipping switches. Yeah, Epoch battery. Cool. Look at what else. 300 amp hours. Bluetooth, self-heating, low temperature disconnect. It's got it all. It was engineered in the US. So thank you, William and Epoch Batteries, for sponsoring this video. It's appreciated. First thing to do when you're dealing with these motors and gases and carb cleaners, you want to protect yourself. So we need PPE. We need gloves. These are nitrile 7mm gloves. Highly recommend them for any mechanic stuff. Okay, and when we start blowing carb cleaner into things, eye protection. You do not want carb cleaner in your eyes. All right, let's look at this. Nissan 9.8 two-stroke. This is called the engine cowl. There's usually back here, and then you can pull this thing off. Slides right off. Here's the engine. What we are going to look at is the carburetor, right? Here's the carb. It's usually on the front. It's where the air comes in. Carburetor mixes gas and air. Let's take a tour. Spark plugs, right? These are the wires. Plugs, there's 2 pistons. They're right in here. A little bit of wiring. And if you start messing with stuff, you can see what it does. It's this shifter. Okay, good. There's your shifter. And now we hit the throttle. There's your throttle. You can see it's working on the carb and over here. Okay, we're going to turn all the way down. And also with these wires, watch. There's one forward, one back. Okay, we're getting to know this engine. Here's the kill switch. Here's the choke. Half choke, full choke. So full choke, half choke, no choke. Full air, half air, little air. Choke, half choke, no choke. Okay, so we're just going to disconnect this stuff, and here's the air intake. So we'll disconnect this stuff, and we'll keep going. And let's look over here. Gas, fuel hose, filter, more hose and clamps, and then it comes in. And the carburetor receives the gas here. Mixes gas and air, puts it into the chamber, and the spark plugs ignite it. Cool. Let's pop this carb out of here. We just need to get these two. Careful not to break any clips or anything. Pop that off. Pop that off. Pull these out. Take a picture of it if you want. Okay, these are 10s. Don't force anything. Try to do things even. One then the other, one then the other, one then the other. Some carburetors are harder to get off than others. I have a Mercury 99 I've had for 24 years now. And that thing is kind of a pain to get off. This Nissan 9A is way simpler and easier to work on. But I would say that my 99 makes more power. And I don't know, it doesn't, this motor leaks gas. You know, when the carburetor is dirty, the motor leaks gas. So here we have our air intake, right? They're super simple. Here we have the carburetor, which it's disconnected, but it's got a gas line. Here we have gaskets falling out. And now there's a gas line over here. I'm just going to pull it off the side of the carburetor. No sweat. And now, when you disconnect gas lines and stuff, just want to kind of be ready. Good, no gas. Here's the carburetor, right? It's sat like this. You can see what the choke does now, right? Choke limits air. Half choke, no choke. Good. And here where the throttle, it also controls the air. Here's where the fuel comes in. Let's pull this thing apart and put a new kit on it so it runs well. You can see it's blown out here and it's like leaking gas. Here's the new carb kit. I found, you get them on Amazon. I have 3 to do this year. I have a Merc 20, a Merc 99, and a Nissan 98. And then I have a 4-stroke 5-horse Merc. We'll see if that one needs it. Okay, cool. Sealed. We'll get into this thing. Nice, very nice. Oh yes, these are the parts we need. Oh yes, they are. Cool. This is very complete. It even came with, it's very easy to strip out all your nuts and bolts. So this one came with new. Good. Good, all your little pieces in here. Let's open these. So I find every other year or every 3rd year, 4th year, you just end up wanting a new carb kit. you'll clean your carb every year, but you'll know the gaskets get worse and worse and worse. Let's pull this thing apart. And this is called the bowl. And it's where a lot of the gas, like when you pull a carburetor apart and you pull this bowl off, you're gonna get gas. So I like to have a tub and then a little dish for cleaning. Let's dig into this thing, shall we? I'm gonna start with here. This is where the fuel comes in. Just do them in a cross pattern. Good. There we go. Here's our first gasket, right? I actually blew this whole thing out just a little bit ago, but you want to be a detective here and see what's going on. A little gas in there. We'll have a little bit of gasket material to clean off. Okay, you can see that gasket is toast. Cool. Old gasket. And you know, sometimes it's hard to tell if there's a front and back, but I can tell that this is a two-part gasket and that the side that's stuck onto the main one goes this way. Okay. Pull this off. Good. Here's another gasket. This one, it's two-part coming apart. Okay. Yeah, and you'll get evidence of how it goes back together. This thing's looking pretty good. Again, it's clean because I already sprayed it out. And I like to kind of put these back together how they were and just leave them like that so that when we really go to put this back together, it makes more sense. So just kind of like loosely sandwich them. Good. All right, let's take off the bowl. If you're going to get covered in gas, this is where it's going to happen. So have a rag ready, do it over a bin. I love doing it over a bin because anything that falls in the bin. Anything like gas coming out or whatever, these things, this is messy, not fun. And a lot of times I'll wear, especially if there's a lot of gas in the bowl and you have to use a lot of carb cleaner, I'll do all this with a nice respirator on that can filter fumes. It's just, it's better to wear a respirator and breathe clean air than it is to just like suck in all these fumes. Even if your respirator is not the most comfortable thing, still better. Okay. Now, if you open them upside down, the float stays down and the needle stays in. You'll get these things just falling apart sometimes, like all the needles and pins fall out and everything. So here's the 4 bolts. Good. Scoot those off to the side. And here is the gasket we're going to replace. And again, I've already sprayed this out. You'd take carb cleaner, spray out all the crap. We'll take this out, put a new ring on it, put a new gasket in here. You really want to spray all the holes out. cool. Here's the float. See this little doohickey? The screw that holds the float in. You can see some of this stuff is like, it's borderline stripped and very worn. Yeah, it comes out. This, and this is where, you know, people start to get nervous and say, dang, I'm a long ways into this. If you are nervous, take pictures. Here's a cap that'll come out that we have a replacement for. Here's the 2 pins. Good. All of these channels now are what we're looking at. We pretty much have the thing apart. There's this. And again, one and then the other. Just break them. And then go to the other side. Then once they're both loose, bring them on out. Now you can see, so we bring this out. Whoop, look at a surprise. Surprise. Those two. So now we have 3 different lengths, 4 different lengths of screws in here. They're just all in their little compartments. We're ways into this, no need to freak out. Okay. So this is gonna come out. A lot of times I keep little picks around and stuff. There. The holes. You can see how that was distorted. Here's fuel getting by. This might even be the culprit of why it's leaking so much fuel. And again, I just like to leave them near the other parts. Tricky part, I'm going to have to use some gravity. Good. That fell out. It was right in there. Okay, you see all these little passageways? They're all over. Passage, 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 passage. They're just everywhere. Little passages in here. Air, fuel, all these little passages. They need to get sprayed out. Okay. Now that we have that gone through, let's look at our parts. Okay, we have, that's for the float, this for the float, this thing. Where's this thing? Maybe we want to put a new one in. That thing is, ooh, it looks like it might be right here. Yeah. Right? You see any other things? No. This is actually the first time I've done this. I put like 5 carb kits on my Merc. This is the first time for this one. So let's see where it was. And a way to do that is turn it down to the bottom. 1, 2, 2.5, 2. So 1, 2 is where it was set. Let's remember that. So now we can take it all the way out. So watch out for springs, man. These things are spring loaded. They'll go crazy. I don't think this one's going to pop or do anything nuts. Yeah, that looks like the right part. Put it down here. Okay, now we have another passageway. That's probably where I'll start putting it back together right there. Let's see what else they want us to replace. So we have all this stuff out. And that pin goes there through that. We did these. We have these gaskets. They're here. This is the main gasket that connects the whole shebang to the computer. Yeah, this is the opposite of a computer. No, to the engine. That little ring right there. We got all these little plugs and stuff. We got that plug that was all distorted. Good. What else? Well, that's it. and we have all the hardware. That's it. We're good. So let's just blow this whole thing out. I'm gonna get another tub to blow this thing out into. Okay. What you want to do is get your eye protection on and get a little brush, little tiny pins to go through. Sometimes I'll take a wire brush and I will clip off. I'll clip off one of these if I need it. And I don't know, something to stir up, get in some spots. Good. A light. So let's start spraying this thing out. Right? Go in all the holes. You'll notice you spray in a hole, it comes out another hole. My carb cleaner is almost gone, conveniently. But spraying these holes, careful. Don't spray yourself in the face. That's the biggest concern here. You do not want to get sprayed in the face. And you'll notice, I mean, this stuff, you'll start to get like crud building up. Getting all these holes. See, there's holes right here. Okay. This is where the okay, we got a little bit of crud in there. Good. So let's put this thing back together. We blew it all out. Dry it off a little. I mean, a lot of times I'd hit it with compressed air, but so I can speak, I don't have a respirator on, and I'm not about to blow all this stuff airborne without a respirator on. Good. So let's start going back. Okay, we have our old parts bin and our new parts bin. Right? Don't need those for a sec. That's a new float. Good. New pieces. Pieces. Old stuff. Pieces. Good, good, good. Okay. Let's start with the one we said we were going to start with. This pin. It's like a Lego set. Okay. I have this pin. We used our old one, and we even checked how far it needs to seat, didn't we? Good. Figure out where it goes on this bad boy. Where'd it go? It went right here. We sprayed it out, and now the pin starts to go in. Yeah, it's going in. We're going to bottom it out and turn it out 2 turns. Don't bottom it out hard. This isn't like crank on it, bottom it out. This is just like, see where it likes to stop. You know, you don't even need to use the big part of the screwdriver. It's about to stop, right? Good, stopped. Now, 1, 2. So that's where it was. Give it another half one. We can adjust it while it's running. Good. And now, ooh, these plugs Let's do that. That's low-hanging fruit. Okay. This. These are the ones I want. So this one goes here. Looks like it's the same on both sides. Okay, good. Now, these little pins. Okay, only fits one. Goes right in there. All right. Now we have a steel plate. This one. You can see on the bottom, you can see like an imprint of where it was. It went just like this. And now these bolts, they're not stripped at all. I'm going to just reuse them, and I'm going to keep that bag of spares just in case I strip one out. We're well on our way. This thing's almost together. And when you torque these down, it's not like this is not holding the chassis of a car together or anything. These are just smushing a little bit of rubber into place. So you just tighten them enough, you think they won't rattle apart. There's some vibrations in there. Okay, good. Now what else? Not that side. This side, nothing. This side. Okay. It looks like it's all going to be right here. Let's get our bowl ready. Here's our bowl. Again, I sprayed this thing out already. See this? This will come out. Good. What this does is if you get water in your bowl, or if you let's say you flood the engine, or if there's water in it, you can put a little catcher under this, and you can actually drain the bowl out. One thing that's nice about catching all of your carb cleaner is that you can just use it again. I'm just going to give it a quick spray right in here. My carb cleaner is like gone anyway, but it's good. So now, use that little gasket. Go on here. It's got a little hole in it. Everything got little holes. You want to make sure they're all clean. You'll get a little pin. Good. Old gaskets in there. New gaskets right here. O-ring, washer, whatever it is. We're going to put a new one on and put it back. And you know, it's actually this thread. I can tell that it's going to want to get stuck. I'm going to put a tad of grease on it. Like a little bit of grease. Just so it doesn't get stuck in there someday. Snug it down. Don't torque the crap out of it, just a little bit of pressure, just so it doesn't shake apart. Okay, and now this O-ring. This has been in there a long time. Parts bin. Let's see if we get some crud. This is the crud we're looking for. Score. When I blew this carburetor out, this engine was leaking, and so I blew the carburetor out, but I didn't have any seals, or like I didn't have my kit, so I didn't take these out because I just wanted to use the seal that was on them. But now we have new ones. Clean this up. That carb cleaner. A little spray. Make sure you got your goggles on. Okay. Looking good, right? Still got a little bit of crud. Let's just grab that last crud. These things are really soft. Careful when you're scraping. Freak. There's like none left. Okay. Cool. Got this. Good. We're looking good. All right. This is where the fuel comes in. We want to make sure that this passage right there where the fuel comes in is open. Just want to give this thing the beans once we get it clean. Good. Okay. Now, this gasket. I think it's pretty much just the same. Yeah, good. Ooh, yeah, it's nice and fresh. I can't tell whether it can be upside down or not. You know, it actually looks like it can be upside down. Yeah. You can see one side is bigger than the other. So I had it right. The holes are different sizes. Cool. There. As long as it seats when we put the top on. Okay. Now our bowl is prepared. Here's the old float. That guy hung on there and that went through here. Let's see. So we're like this. And then we need to put these pieces in. There's the old. Here's the new. This is nicely prepared for us. We just kind of, like, we stick it through. Come on. Good. Hangs there. And through here. Good. And now it goes right down in that hole. Drop it down. Boom. We're going to use our old screw. But look at how corroded that is. I'm going to put a little grease on it. A little dab of grease. That's all. Happy little grease. Alright. Stay clean. Work like a gentleman. Or a gentle lady or whatever. Okay, good. Ooh, yeah, that goes in a lot nicer. And just snug it down to the point where it's not going to shake apart. We're not trying to like crank on this. We'll break it if we do. Just there. Okay. Now this piece, right here, our old one's in here, and our new one goes right in here. Plop. Yeah. Nice and tight in there. Okay. Now I don't see anything else. One thing I really like to do while doing this is check my old parts. What am I working with? Okay, did this. Did this. Did these. Did that. Did this. Did that. We have these screws left that are in good shape. And now it looks like what we're left with is this. So we left it sandwiched together, basically how it was. That's good. And it looks like we can actually put our float back together. See these two holes? They're going to line up with these two holes. So make sure this gasket is going to seat. It's a little sketch, a little sus here. But I think it's going to be okay. Yeah. Cool. And then, yeah, it was these shorter ones. Screw them in. You want to snug them. Just bottom them a little bit. Do cross. One and then across. Then do this corner. Then cross. And now we can give them their almost finals. Just one part and then the other, because I'll bottom them out. And then I'll give them their final. Not hard, just enough so they don't rattle apart. It's like 1/8 of a turn. seat that gasket and make sure it doesn't rattle apart. Okay, bolts back on. Now here's where the fuel comes in. So we have these gaskets, they go like this. Okay, now this gasket left some debris. Well, how do we get that off? One way I like to do it is a razor blade. Be very gentle with razor blades and this soft material. You're gonna cut yourself and just, you can dig in. Always cut away from yourself. Oh yeah, that's it. A lot of times when you take these carburetors apart and fix them, it's very apparent what's wrong. It's like rusted. The first time I took this carburetor apart, so people brought this engine to me, said I could have it, if I could make it run or whatever. And it just was completely orange and like grown over. There's certain life that can live and thrive in petroleum, like gas, and it was just covered in it. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little finishing pad. These red pads are metal finishing pads, and it essentially like sand it. So you don't want anything, you want this to be nice and sealed. This thing has a bunch of crud on it, so I'll have to clean it, but okay, where'd you go? Where'd you go? There you are. See that? Come here. Okay, there we got her. Good. No. That carb cleaner on there. Dry it off. We're about ready. Okay. So, let's construct this thing. Okay, here's our gaskets. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, so now it's really become apparent why we keep these stacked, right? So we know that goes to the cap. So this is the second one, right? Goes to the cap. This one. I don't think it has a front and back cap. Okay, and now the next one down looks like that. Here's the next one down. It's essentially like a rubber diaphragm. Okay, and then we get this cap, this side of it. All this stuff, I blew it all out. It's pretty good. Okay. Another thing you can do, here's a trick to keep all this stuff going on straight. Just use the screws. Even if you only use two. Good. So you can be sure it's all laying on there straight. Okay, now we have this. So here, see, this one obviously went here, like this. So if we start to take it apart, we know the rubber one went down and then this secondary laid on top. So the rubber one goes down. See, that hole corresponds with this. And then this secondary one on top, and the hole still corresponds. Good. Okay. Yeah, looking good. Work these through. See that hole? Clean this up a little. Carb cleaner's nasty. Nasty stuff, man. That looks good. Let's take this and we'll just work it down. Looks good. Just one. Just keep them all kind of going even. You don't want to just like crank one side down and then crank the other side down. This one's is separate now. Let's have a little bit of good. Yeah, these look like they've seated. All right. See, this one was a little bit hard, but there we go. It's good now. One, two. Back this off a little bit. Put it back in. Back this off. Why not? Good. And now we'll do our final torque. And again, I say torque. This is like a light torque. We're not trying to strip all this stuff out. It's very soft metal. Okay. Good. Let's do one more. Just check to make sure they're all about the same. You want them all to be the same torque. Good. Good. All right. What else do we have left? There's almost nothing left in here. The one thing we did these. Well, that's the one we have left. So let's figure out how this thing goes on. Right? We can use the old one to figure out. Oh, you see, there's our evidence right there. It's not in this side, is it? Nope. But this is. So it goes like this. It goes back on the motor like this. So how do we... Good. So this one's going to go like this. Perfect. I don't think it can go any other way. Good. And get it ready to go back on. You can always use screws to help you align gaskets. Some of this stuff, once you take it apart, can be a chore to get back together. Okay, good. She's ready to go back on. All right, so we'll just slide this thing back on. This is an excellent carburetor to work on, actually. A lot of them get... My Merc 99 is like a puzzle to get the thing back in. Good. One side and then the other. Oops. All right. Again, don't tighten one side all the way. Just slowly back and forth. We're seating all these gaskets, and you're strong enough to just completely strip out these screws, so be careful. One way to know you're not going to over torque something is grab the ratchet like super low. You just get that feeling on your hand. You'll know they have about the right torque on them. Like at the same torque. Yeah, that one. Good. You can feel that. Then over here. There it is. Now the last part, there's a fuel line over here. Okay, cool. And now we have this, the choke. Put this choke on and put it in that hole and then snap this thing. Click. Put this in the hole and bring this around and snap it. Click. Okay. We're good. Our throttle's working. Our choke is working. Our shifter's working. Cool. Hook up our gas. We're gonna have to prime this to get all the to fill the bowl, and you'll feel it. 1 pump, 2 pumps. I feel a little pressure. Boom. We know that's gonna run. You don't want to run it out of the water, but just like that, she's purring like a kitten. Cool. Put the cowl back on. There you got it. We rebuilt the carb on a Nissan 9.8. This is routine dinghy maintenance. Maybe every third year you want to put a carb kit in it, but every year you want to blow it out. And if you come across bad gas, water in your gas or anything, you're going to take this thing apart, blow it out, put it back together. It should work just fine. Have a nice day. That was fun.